nearly done now. Got less than a mile to go, and I'm running into Goring. I thought it would be an appropriate finish. I've come over here to finish off the 100 miles because this is where Centurion have the finish to the autumn 100. So, job done. I got there in the end, got through that 100-mile training week. I'm not going to say I got through it unscathed. Obviously I picked up an injury early on, but I did manage to get through it. But it wouldn't have been what you would call a training week as such. Okay, I did a lot of long, slow aerobic stuff, but I didn't do anything that involved any threshold or speed work. Let's have a few statistics. I had a resting heart rate at the start of this of 47 beats per minute. I weighed in at 11 stone and 10 pounds, which is about 74.5 kilos, I think. And at the end of it, had a resting heart rate of 46 beats per minute, which I wasn't expecting. I thought I'd have a more elevated heart rate due to the workload. And I lost 3 pounds, so I was 11.5 stone at the end of it, which is the lightest I've been since 18 years of age. This is one of the things you need to watch for actually and monitor is your weight if you're taking on any of these longer training weeks. Obviously you don't want to be losing too much weight unless that's one of your aims, is to get a bit lighter nearer your what you would call your racing weight. But you don't want to be getting obsessive about it, just keeping an eye on it and making sure that you'll get enough nutrition back on board to keep your weight up. I did 12 runs over the 7 days, and 5 of these days were double days or 2 runs per day. My total training time for the week was over 20 hours, about 20 hours and 10 minutes. Now clearly somebody running those sessions at nearer 7.5, 8 minute miles is going to do it in 11 or 12 hours, not the 20 odd that I took. I averaged around about 12-minute miles for my runs. Fluid intake. Well, on the first run of the 24 miler, I took 1 litre of water, which wasn't really enough. And I only consumed 3 litres of water over all of the runs. This is mainly because I did doubles and didn't need to carry so much water with me. The temperatures, however, were high during the week, must have averaged over 22 degrees Celsius. It got up to 25, 26 most of the days. We had a very dry, rain-free week. You need to monitor this in hot temperatures, make sure you're keeping well hydrated. You also need to make some allowance for the fact that you will have to run slower. Typically when the temperature gets above 15 degrees C, you start to see a slowing in your ability to keep those higher paces up. And when you're getting over 18 degrees, you really do need to make sure that you're backing off from the pace. This is because of your respiration rate and perspiration rate and your heart having to beat harder to deal with the blood flow. Elevation. I ran over 3,000 feet of elevation over the 12 runs, but one of the runs, the first run, the 24 miler, had 1,750 feet of elevation in it. So more than half of the elevation was done in the first run. So what have I learned? Well, 100-mile training weeks aren't really for the over 60s. I wouldn't recommend it. This was purely one of those target things that you do, a bit like trying to run sub 4 hour, sub 3 hour marathon or 4-minute mile. It's one of those things that I wanted to do that I've never done. So I went and did it. I'm not saying that it's something that I would ever do again or that I would need to do again necessarily, even training for ultra distance runs. This type of training week has a detraining effect. Clearly, if you're not training for threshold or speed work, you're going to lose some of that speed endurance at the top end, and you will just train to run slower. One of the things I found was that I was amazed by the powers of recovery, how quick your body can recover to go and do the next session the next day, and also some sort of in-run recovery. I mean, I was silly running through an injury, but the injury definitely got better as the week went on. It hasn't now, and I've taken a 4 weeks rest from it, but it definitely, I was able to keep going through it much more than I could. And I think some of that has to do with the mental side, a resetting of the brain's parameters of what you can deal with, what your body is capable of doing. And that's what some of these things are all about. You know, even if it's getting round your first park run, once you've done that, you've reset your mind about what you are capable of doing. And a lot of these things, one of the big takeaways is also the mental side, not just the physical responses that you get. Another thing to watch for in doing these weeks, especially if you're going to do multiple long weeks, is the overtraining syndrome. You need to watch out for grumpiness, loss of appetite. You're not really getting through it that well. You really should be backing off at these points if you're not sleeping well. Obviously, sleep is really vital to get enough recovery to carry on with higher mile training weeks. So this is really important that you watch out for that you're not overtraining and you're not stressing yourself unnecessarily and getting no training benefit back for. Another learning curve is to make sure that you have a training program for the week that you are going to cope with. I front end loaded mine. I wanted to break the back of the higher mileage, and clearly I was only doing this for 1 week. I wouldn't recommend that. You should probably start with something like a 10 miler on the first day and then maybe do a double day and make sure that you then get a recovery time. And then build them so that you're doing 10 or 15 mile doubles and things like that during the day, during the week, rather than building the load up all the way through. And you probably typically finish with a long run on the weekend, on the Sunday anyway. Another thing I learned was how important actually speed walking is, or speed trekking, or moving fast over the ground that isn't running. And it helped me get through the week, definitely. It helped me keep going for longer mileage. And it's something that you really should practice. And I believe that it's all something that you could really introduce in speed sessions even. Instead of taking like rest intervals of 30, 60 seconds that you might do in a speed interval training, you could actually have fast walking as part of that. Increase the length of the interval, maybe 2 or 3 minutes of speed walking, and then run fast off of that, doing maybe 800 meters or kilometer repeats. Be prepared to be adaptive with your training program as well. If you do have a bad day or feel like you're having an off day, back off, don't carry on with the session, take the rest and go again the next day. Be prepared to restructure things, and don't just stick rigidly to the plan. And even if you want to get through a 100-mile week, why not extend that week and make it 9 or 10 days? It'll give you more time for some recovery and still get the training load that you might talk a bit about training load as well. This is far more important that you log this or know what this is, rather than just logging mileage and saying that you've done a 100-mile training week. The training load is much more important in terms of what you're able to do and what your body is able to cope with. So really this needs to be how much mileage you're doing plus what the exerted effort is that you're putting into that mileage. So if you're doing threshold or speed work, so you could really do this on rate of perceived effort or RPE. This is normally done on an adapted Borg scale, say a 1 to 10 scale of your rate of perceived effort for each session, times that by the mileage, and then obviously multiply it at the end of the week to see what sort of load you've actually done. And you're much better off doing 30, 40, 50 miles with some good quality work in there and working to a training load each week rather than just training mileage. So the key thing really is to be constantly in touch with your body, with your mind, what you're doing, adapting your training to suit even from one training session to another. Be very aware of where you're at. Also take a holistic approach to your whole of your training. Make sure family, friends, work are all aware of what you're doing and what you're trying to achieve. This will take some pressure off you, make you feel more able to get through it. And you should also be considering all the other elements. I mean, I did some foam rollering, but normally I would be doing Pilates and yoga, and that all went out the window. And you should be keeping that in. You might be doing some cross training as well, and getting all the right nutrition and hydration done as well, and plenty of sleep. So it's a full holistic approach to how you're going to structure your training week. This is much more important than just trying to get through 100 miles. So that wraps it up. 100-mile training week done. Learned loads of lessons. I hope you've enjoyed learning them with me. And have got something out of it, and you won't do some of the silly things I did, and have taken notice of some of the things I've said at the end here. I shouldn't go without thanking James Elson and his team for forming the Centurion One Community. It was great fun doing that event, running. They had 4,000 other people enter it, and it was good to know that there were all these people out there running as well at the same time. Hopefully as a community we'll all be out there on the roads properly. We'll get to see the back of COVID-19 and rejoin our running clubs, our running groups, and our running buddies, and get out there on the roads and trails very soon together. So until then, if you've enjoyed this, stick with Coach Kev running vlog, and I will hopefully post some more vlogs for you. And until then, cheerio for now, and see you out there.